Yeah, no, I'm sorry. The laws of attraction are not really dictated by politics. We've seen that time and time again. And,
But whether or
people.
not they can get married, whether or not it's legal to have gay marriage, whether or not it's legal for them to hold hands in public, whether or not, like, all of these things are political, have been politicized by the right mainly, and are like it makes it to where
What the fuck?
everything is political.
It's all been politicized by the right. Yeah. The fact that a gender reveal party is now a political thing. That's from the right, man. Yep. Oh yeah. That's all.
No,
can I jump in here for a second?
Marriage has been politicized. That's it. I wasn't saying all the other things.
Well, you said a gender reveal party is political. You said a gender reveal party is political.
It is.
No, that's not political, dude. It wasn't the right that did that.
Do people think that gender is completely different from sex?
Was it the right that did that?
That's different than a gender reveal party. But
what I'm saying is anything now, including gender,
I know what you're saying.
Differentiating it from sex or keeping it the same, has now become politicized.
Claiming the right did that is completely.
I didn't claim the right did that. I didn't do that.
You said it especially comes from the right, sir.
I said gay marriage. That's it. I said it 3 times.
Kind of came from the right.
Kind of did.
I would possibly like to move the conversation on to whether or not it is political to take a knee during the national anthem versus putting your hand over your heart and standing up during the national anthem. I would argue both are just as political as the other.
I would argue one is political and one is traditional. There can be distinctions.
It's traditional because of politics.
It's traditional because we've done it for multiple generations. But
we've done it for multiple generations because of politics.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed from the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and now there's a glow of mercy needed through the night. My flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. Yeah. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Remember, always tip your waitress. Sorry, couldn't help it, Tom. You could not help it. It was like almost like a muscle twitching. Like, okay, I had to.
Yeah. Patriotism is political. Like, in all ways, patriotism is political. In every way of patriotism, it is all political.
Nation is political.
Yes. 100%, yes.
Okay. So you agree with the idea that the personal is political then?
The what?
The personal is political. All personal aspects are political.
Literally everything is political. Everything.
Okay. So no one's allowed to have their own personal life, their own personal things that are removed from politics. Oh, yes, okay. No. Well, no. So everything is political.
Yeah, I mean, look, even whether or not two people
having a birthday party for your
love
3-year-old,
each other,
that's political. Having a birthday party for a kid, that's
definitely
political.
Yes, like say a gender reveal, this is political. Whether or not 2 people get married, this is political. Based on their sexual preferences, this is political. Like, the most personal things you could possibly imagine have been politicized, especially by the right.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. The laws of attraction are not really dictated by politics. We've seen that time and time again. And
but whether or not they can get married, whether or not it's legal to have gay marriage, whether or not it's legal for them to hold hands in public, whether or not, like, all of these things are political, have been politicized by the right mainly, and are like it makes it to where everything is political.
It's all been politicized by the right. Yeah.
No,
the fact
the
that
gay
a
marriage-
gender
Okay,
reveal party is
wait a
now a
second,
political thing. That's from the right, man. Yep. Oh yeah. That's all.
No,
Can I jump in here
said
for a
gay
second?
marriage has been politicized. That's it. I wasn't saying all the other things.
Well,
For
you
sure.
said a gender
Just
reveal
gay marriage.
party is political. You said a gender
It is.
Yeah,
reveal
that's
party is
not really
political.
politicized.
It is.
No, that's not political, dude. It wasn't the
No way.
right that did that.
Do
sure
people
as shit.
think that gender is completely different from
Was
sex?
it the right that did that?
That's different than a gender reveal party. But
no, what I'm saying is anything now, including gender,
I know what you're saying.
differentiating it from sex or keeping it the same, has now
All right,
become
but
politicized.
claiming the right did that is completely.
I didn't claim the right did that. I didn't do
You
that.
said it especially comes from the right, sir.
I said gay
Yeah,
marriage. That's
you
it.
kinda
I've said
did.
it 3 times.
Kind
Gay
of said it
marriage.
came from the right.
Kind of did. So
Thank you,
first of
gentlemen.
all, the national anthem. I want to answer that question first. I don't care what anyone does during the national anthem. Don't give a shit. It's kind of a socialist, nationalist ideal. So I really don't care. This is coming from someone that served. So I served in the military. So before anyone freaks out and says, you suck, suck it. So
No, thank you for your service, sir.
the gender. Yeah, well, thank you. I didn't really do shit. I was in the Coast Guard. It's like the extension of Boy Scouts. Not really that much. So I would say the gender reveal party thing that you said. I don't necessarily agree with that. I know where you're going with it, like gender, as far as gender. Yeah, I get it. I get it. What was the other thing that you said? I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Gay marriage.
Gay marriage. Yes. Yeah. Get government out of marriage. Boom. There you go. That's where I'm going with it.
I mean, I would agree to a point though, because the government does give benefits, especially when it comes to taxes, when it comes to insurance companies.
Yeah. Stop giving benefits.
Okay. I mean, based on like how many kids you have and whether or not you're married and stuff like that, like lots of these benefits that, I like. Tax cuts. I think that they're.
We can talk about tax code too.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We could talk about tax code. Yeah.
Now,
taxation is theft, buddy. Let's go. Let's do this.
Oh, one of these guys.
All I can say, Chicken, is as a guy that's been through a divorce, this motherfucker's spitting. Keep the fucking government out of marriage. Yeah. Fucking this motherfucker's got some ideas right here. Let me tell you something. Jesus Christ. But
what?
Man,
okay, let's ask a question, Phil. Why do they need to be in marriage? Why do they need?
So there's a contract between two people so they can see who has the right to sue who. That's why a marriage license is necessary. That's it. It's to determine who has the right to sue who. That's the whole long and short of
determine that you guys share property.
Well, yeah, like you said, it can be that. But yeah, if you want to fucking share property, start an LLC, start an LLP. It's not that hard. Trust me, it'll be a lot less painful than marriage. Don't do it, guys. No, I'm kidding. Do whatever makes you happy in this life, I suppose. But and also,
it already happened.
And I like Tom. Like, oh, you're one of those guys with the proposition. Taxation is theft. Are taxes voluntary and optional?
No, I would
Are
say
they?
that taxation is theft, but that it is a theft that I agree with and that I will give willingly, which now makes it not theft anymore. For others who don't give it willingly or don't agree with, then yes, it's just still plain theft. But I think it's a necessary theft in the end. So
let me ask you something, Tom. If you're up against a stick-up man, puts his gun to your stomach and says, give me 55% of everything you got on you. Well, I agree with this, and I think this is a necessary theft, and that's a good. Does it suddenly make the transaction moral?
I mean, it depends on the scenario, I suppose. I mean, I normally like to explain it like Monopoly, where if the government only like lots of people like to say that government is just what is it? Force of
Monopoly of the use of force.
yes, monopoly of the use of force. Yes, and so like in the game Monopoly, you land on the wrong square, like you now have to pay whatever it is that they say you have to pay on that square. And governments in their land are all the same, where they are the ones who conquered it. They're the ones who are monopolizing the use of force there, and then therefore they're the ones who decide whether or not you pay and how much you pay.
So,
But
again,
why is that okay? Like just a random person in Washington D.C. gets to determine how much you pay for taxes.
I mean, if we want to put it into like moral terms, like I'd say it's probably immoral, but I don't think that it has to be moral in order for it to be a necessity.
What?
Well, okay, so
wait,
it's
okay, wait a second.
utilitarian, but
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a dick. But
No, go ahead.
okay, so
This
you
is
don't.
what I
think
do.
Waggle
it
away.
doesn't
I
need to
literally
be-
debate people all day. So yeah.
waggle
Okay,
away,
all right,
man.
cool. All right,
Waggle your
sorry.
dick all over.
I'm sorry. So I don't get to normally do this without people that get upset. So sorry.
Yeah.
I just
All right.
apologize all the time because I'm just like people get mad at me because I'm just like, what the fuck's wrong with you? But okay, so okay, so you say it doesn't need to be moral, but it needs to be a necessity. Well, who determines necessity?
So I believe in like the right to property, right?
Okay,
Now
I agree.
have had
I completely agree.
I've had this conversation with numerous ANCAPs who believe that I can have property without having a government. I completely disagree with them. I think that we have to have somebody who has a monopoly on the use of force in order for them to make sure that contracts are binding.
I would just posit as kind of a counter, and it's not a perfect example, but eBay is a company that settles tens of thousands of fraud disputes every single year over actual items, all without the use of law courts. So, I mean, it's just, I think when people say there's no way for property rights to be maintained without a government, I just think it's like, there are ways to deliver these services that people desire without one overarching taxation organization that has a monopoly of force.
Kind
There
of.
are
Somebody
other
on eBay once before said that I did not send them an item and they never received it. Then I know I sent them, and that I literally sent eBay pictures of the box with the address on it and everything to make sure it was right, showed them the messages saying like this is the address they wanted it sent to and everything. And then as soon as I realized like they were asking more and more questions, I took literally all of my money out of my PayPal account, put it at $0, and a couple of days later they ruled against me and my PayPal account went negative. I was booted off of eBay and they gave that person that money, and I just never went back to PayPal. I didn't lose that money. I lost absolutely nothing in this deal. And they didn't really settle that case because I was thinking 2 steps ahead.
Well, there you go. But again, this was a case that, like it or not, there was a resolution that was brought to the case. No law courts were brought in. You didn't have to go to court over it, did you?
No, and I suppose that they could, like, go after your credit score anytime instead of putting you in jail and make your life, a lot harder to live in the United States by penalizing you in financial ways and things like that. But I think that just means that the rich get away with whatever they want in that point. Like if, a billionaire, like anybody wants to now become a child sex trafficker, they can take all the penalties they want and they can do whatever they want now because they have enough money to be able to afford it.
Boy, we're coming back to it, but something to think about. You guys mentioned qualified immunity and like how the rich will be able to get away with things. It's something that's kind of knocked around my head for a few days. If we were to get rid of qualified immunity for police, I think one of the side effects would be that, like, the ultra wealthy, when they do get pulled over, when they say, you keep fucking with me, I'm going to see you in court and you're not even going to be able to fucking eat. That threat will actually have actual weight behind it because now he can put that off. Like, so it will be, like if you're one of the super rich, you might be able to actually talk your way out of a lot of penalties. So it's one of those. There's a lot of
qualified immunity is more for something that they're going to go to court for, like serious, like something like killing somebody, assaulting somebody. Qualified immunity is not going to be like giving some rich guy a speeding ticket. Right. So, I mean, yes, I think that it could have some downsides. I'm not gonna lie to you. It probably could have some downsides as far as that goes. You're right. If a rich person is involved in a crime, of extreme moral turpitude, as far as like, killing or sexually assaulting somebody, yeah, that cop is not going to have certain protections. So they better have their ducks in a row. They better have their evidence in a row, and that type of thing. So yeah, it could be, it could be, but it's really more for the cop that's acted poorly.
It's good to know that, but it's just one of those things that when we were talking about it, it just kind of hit me. It's like, I wonder. Because, I'm not really a huge fan of the concept of qualified immunity either. Yeah. But
there's nothing perfect when it comes to legislation. You can't legislate anything away.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and especially not just qualified immunity in general. Like, it seems like there should be some kind, especially when you give this amount of power to people and then say, hey, you're never allowed to make a mistake. It seems like there should be some sorts of qualified immunity, but then the Supreme Court has continuously pushed it farther and farther and let them get away with more and more and more, to the point where, like, now qualified immunity is a problem. And this is one of the things that BLM and protesters are out there protesting against. And when they say that our like judicial system is broken, like the qualified immunity is one of those things where they say, like, we just need to roll back the books on a lot of this stuff and start fresh because we've screwed up.
No doubt, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, and thank you for enlightening me a bit on that, because that was one of the things I was wondering about. Because in my opinion, if somebody dies in the commission of what an officer is doing in the duty, probably should have at least a grand jury or a judge look at it. Probably should have that looked into if somebody dies due to your actions. But that was the thing. It's like,
so when I was a Border Patrol agent, they if anyone ever died, in that, the FBI would go and look at it. So, for a Border Patrol agent, if anyone died, then the FBI would investigate it and go through it, and that whole 9 yards. So, it's important. It's more important for, I think, a third party to go through it than anyone else.
Yes, that's where I was going. Is that's one of the problems again with our judicial system and with our police forces, is that they have this internal affairs that's kind of integrated with the police force and with the DA, and they're all pals and they're all buddies, and then they go and investigate each other and come to conclusions about each other that are completely life altering. Like, you don't want to be that guy. And it's you definitely want third parties, people who have a separation of, church and state, so that you can have some sort of rational conclusion to these things.
All right. But the only reason I wanted to interject that is because I'm really wondering if this would lead to do you know who I am? Like, I don't want that kind of shit to be, I don't want that shit to actually hold sway. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, no,
yeah. But I think that would be more likely.
That always happens, no matter what.
Sure, yes, but I think it would be more likely if it was, if if we went in more of an ANCAP direction, that these things are actually now more likely than they are currently.
Now, yeah, I understand, but like we said, is the consequence
Maybe,
of
but that's
moral
an assumption.
decisions, are the consequences of moral decisions relevant? Like when we ended slavery, were the consequences of what the economic consequences of that really relevant? So that's one thing I always bring up is, do you really need
They
to act
weren't.
what? No,
They weren't
what
because
matters.
Right. And I'm
slavery
not
was
saying
only
they
like
are.
3% of the actual economy.
Yes, but what I'm saying is it's the moral arguments that usually sway the day,
Oh, of
and
course, of course, yeah, of
that's
course.
why I bring up the moral arguments, because eventually the idea of statism in our modern state is going to lose the overall moral argument. It's going to happen, maybe not in our lifetimes, but it will eventually happen where the state will lose the moral argument and we will have to organize ourselves in a different way. So I think it's better to theorize how it could be done rather than just wait to see what happens when we get there. So that is just moi in here.
What do you mean, though, by statism? Can you
The
define this for me?
monopoly of the initiation of the use of force. That is what distinguishes a state from any other organization. The ability to dispose of you and kill you at will.
But when you say statism, are you talking about in general, like in China, they're gonna get rid of statism, or you're saying like just in the United States? Like
in the
what do you
West,
mean?
it'll start first, like that. It'll start first in the West, and yes, you'll have some holdouts, and we're talking hundreds to thousands of years in the future. You're asking me to predict the future, and I'm not going to be able to do that great of a job. But like I said, when the United States ended slavery, yes, there was still slavery all over the world, and there actually still is slavery, open-air slave markets in Libya right now as we speak. So
Thanks,
you're
Hillary.
not going to wipe it out altogether. It'll never happen. Statism, just like all the other ists and isms, there'll always be a little bit of hangovers of it. So
the reason I asked is not because I expect you to predict the future, but because if we look at our current circumstances in the United States, we're only moving farther towards social programs and social communities instead of independent individuals. We're only moving farther from that currently. We're only building more and more stuff that the government's in charge of. We're only adding to what they
Who says that's the
what
right
they're
way to
allowed
go?
to rank. No one's saying that it's the right way to go. What I'm saying is that we're going.
Okay.
If he believes that that is a endpoint that we're going to end, that we're going to get to, I disagree. I think that currently the world is saying otherwise. The world is saying actually we're all moving in a direction where the government is taking care of more and more people, and I think we're only going to continue moving in that direction. We only become less and less of a capitalist economy year over year. We're not becoming more capitalist.
My first response to that would be Rome was also awful big until it burned to the ground. Yes, things can get big and big and big, but nowhere was it ever written that anything is eternal. So that's only for the good Lord. Ain't nothing here in this world. But what I would also counter with is, damn, I forgot myself. What was the last question you had there? What was your last statement there, sir?
I said we're only becoming more capitalist.
Oh, okay. Damn it.
I'm sorry, we're becoming less capitalist and more social.
Okay. I understand what you're getting with that, but God damn it, I forgot my train of thought. Take it, sir. It's all you.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think anyone that would disagree with you would be crazy. But almost $30 trillion in debt says that you can't keep doing that. You can't, because eventually you're going to run out of other people's money. That's simple as that. That's a Margaret Thatcher quote, by the way.
Kind of.
But I mean, you absolutely can't keep doing it. You can't. And even other countries that are doing it are just at as much debt as we are.
Kind of. I mean, we're in debt to other countries with our own money.
No, we're
though.
not just in debt to other countries. We're in debt to ourselves because the
Yes,
last
to
$2
ourselves.
trillion
That's,
the last $2 trillion that they printed with nothing backing it.
but we're only in debt to
Nothing.
ourselves like 12 trillion, right?
That's $12 trillion. That's a lot of
Yeah,
money.
sure. I'm just saying when we're talking about 30 trillion or 12 trillion, I'm just trying to find
Okay.
I
All right. Yeah, fair enough.
I remember I
I-
saw a tweet the other day that said, "I just read the world owes $217 trillion. Who the fuck we owe? Thanos?" Like, yeah, it's like I just thought that was a little funny.
yeah, if the state continues to get bigger and more powerful, then eventually they can literally do whatever they want. And this is something that I was talking to people about the other day when we were talking about whether or
think they're
not
already there,
officers
Tom.
should always have.
Sorry.
Yes, well, I'm saying like we're already there, and it's only going to get bigger. And so the other day when I'm talking about how like police officers should always have badges and identifying marks and should be able to prove at all times that they have some sort of authority to do anything, like it should be obvious to everybody around them that they have authority to arrest people or put cuffs on them or anything like that. It should be blatantly obvious. And so where I started going with this with the chat is they're like, yeah, well, that's why we're protesting. I'm like, yeah, also that's why we're rioting. And they're like, no, rioting's bad. And I'm like, I'm not saying rioting's okay. I'm saying when you continue to protest and they continue to ignore you and literally do the things that you're protesting against, like you're asking for more accountability from police, you're asking for them to be more accountable to their own actions, and then they show up in uniforms that have absolutely no identifiable marks and their faces are covered, and then they start beating Navy SEALs and shooting canisters into people's faces and stuff like that. What do you do about that? Nothing. You can do absolutely nothing about that. They decide whether or not they do something about it. And if they don't, you can do nothing about that except burn down their cities and put the pressure on them. And as much as that sucks, and as much as like war is a horrible
How about
thing,
that monopoly of force that Phil keeps talking about?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean that's literally like the only way that you can fight back against the monopoly of force is.
Yeah, I'm not
rioting.
arguing with that, but I mean that's what we're arguing against the monopoly of force, and I feel like we're kind of arguing for the same thing, but it's just in different ways.